26 with Justin Goby Fields. And for you Australians out there, it's Goby, not Gobby, you perverts. Okay, so hey Justin, welcome. And
hey, how's it going, guys?
first, maybe quick introduction. Actually, no, before the introduction, this is going to be just me and Justin tonight because Darek and Wojtek were in Poland, in Warsaw, for the event that you probably all saw on their Facebook. And it looked really epic, but they're really tired now. They've traveled for 7 hours today, so they just got home, but they're going to sleep. So we're just going to have... Oh, sorry. Every time. Okay, so they're not going to be here. It's just going to be me and Justin. I put on a candle, but it went out already. Kind of sad.
I see. Trying to get romantic with me. I see.
Yeah, I thought we'd have a nice little candlelight session. Make level up a bit more intimate, because it's always so bro-y all the time. Anyway, enough bullshit. Justin. So Justin's a concept artist who mostly works in film. He does sculpting, mostly character art. And if you want to check out his work, go to his website, which is justinfields.com. So that's his personal website. And you can also check out the website from his studio, which is called Ironclad and with a K.com. So I'm just maybe...
Studios.com.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe, you know this better than me. Sorry. So Justin's actually working in a pretty similar field that I am, so we're both kind of working in film. You're not working in games as much either, are you?
I do a little bit of game stuff. Mostly it's marketing stuff when it comes to the games. But I do some work for Riot Games. Did some stuff for Triforce recently, which was fun. Got to touch some pretty famous franchises. That's been pretty awesome so far. But yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like I saw that you worked a bit on Iron Man 3, and now you've worked on a lot of movies that are coming out now, like Maleficent and Jupiter Ascending, and yeah, actually, I saw a screen because MPC did a lot of stuff for Maleficent, so I saw a screening. I don't know, did you do anything in particular that is okay to talk about at this point?
Well, I mean, from the trailer you can see there's lots and lots of little critters and the Raven and stuff like that. So I did a little bit of that ideation and some of early Maleficent designs, which looked pretty cool. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to be like spoiler central over here, but there was some fun stuff in there that I definitely enjoyed. I'm not sure if any of the creatures made it to screen, but from the looks of it, there's lots of little woodland creatures.
There's lots of creatures in the film, yeah.
Yeah.
We usually get to see just the visual effect shots because, that's what they do. So you get all the money, you get to see most of the money shots. And there's lots of really cool creatures in Maleficent. A friend of mine worked on it in the studio while they were shooting it. He met Angelina Jolie and stuff. And yeah, it's been going on for a while. I mean, I think the production was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
But it's coming out soon, so check it out if you want to see some of Justin's creature designs. And Jupiter Ascending, which I worked on for 18 months as well, which also has lots of... And did you do more like hard surface stuff for Jupiter Ascending, or?
Man, that one started out with just random crazy ideas, anything sci-fi, it wasn't off the table. They were just like, give us whatever you want, So I think I did over 40 illustrations easily. I'm sure you probably did hundreds.
Oh man, don't even start talking about it.
But no, I remember being about like a month into it, or a month and a half, and just being like, I don't even know what this movie is gonna be like. Like there's so much cool art in it. Like I don't even know how they're gonna make it. So I'm very anxious to see how that turned out. I'm pretty stoked. There's a definite few designs that I saw in the trailer that I was like, I'm very certain that I influenced.
Okay, that's
So
good.
yeah, that's
Very
always
good.
fun when you see a little bit of you that made it into this, on screen.
So were you mostly involved in the early stages of production then, when there was
Yeah,
still?
I would think so. I would think so because there's roles that have been changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I was actually, I believe, in the early times designing stuff for Channing Tatum when he was not a wolf character,
Yeah, yeah.
or bounty hunter. So it's interesting. I can't wait to see it. I'm pretty psyched about it.
Yeah, me too. I hope it's gonna be good. I mean, I'm sure our job's gonna be good. Usually the visual side of movies tends to be pretty good. Most artists do their job properly and designers do their job properly. Story writers, not so much. I think they're maybe smoking too much pot or something. I don't know what's up with them.
Yeah,
Give them a good shaking sometime. Like, wake up, story writers. You're more important than us.
absolutely. Yeah, they get that wrong quite often.
Yeah. Okay, but let's stay on subject a little bit because it's
All
very
right.
easy to get sidetracked. But so yeah, so you've worked on all these movies and you've been doing 3D concepts, right? Because today we're going to talk a bit about the advantages of doing stuff in 3D and how a lot of concept art is shifting towards 3D work. So, for example, if I can start with the first question, what do you find to be the biggest benefit or benefits of doing character designs in 3D rather than 2D?
In the beginning, you can't. It's hard to nail down the time aspect, but the more and more you use 3D, the faster you get at it. And in my opinion, you're able to crank out some things relatively quickly to where you get orthos for free. I
Mm.
mean, you know, being able to render it out and then paint on top of it, or do whatever you have to do to get an image out of it, to get your idea across. I don't think that's I should say, I'd say that's the biggest advantage that you get. When a director comes, or art director or production designer comes to you and goes, all right, well, what does it look like from the right side? From the upper left. Instead of having to redraw that every time to that fine level quality of rendering, you can render out a base and paint on top of it and be done in 20 minutes.
But so do you think that, I mean, for example, do you sketch anything before you start sculpting, or you just go straight into the sculpt?
It depends. It depends on the client. I prefer to take a couple days and just sketch out some things and gather reference. You know what I mean? And then do, like, I guess like a silhouette study to kind of choose. I guess to go down the right path instead of immediately down the wrong path. When you first start concepting out stuff. But sometimes I'll get like crazy deadlines, like they need a creature design in 5 days. So you have to just like kind of jump right into ZBrush at that point.
Do you help yourself? Do you save yourself times by having sort of pre-built assets that you can reuse?
Oh, absolutely. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. You can spend time making all kinds of different animal jaws, limbs even, like if you really look at nature, especially with mammals and reptiles, they generally have the same forms.
Right.
And so like if you make a brush that has those forms, one of the interns at Ironclad made a cloth brush where it had all the wrinkles already in tow. You know what I mean? So you just draw on a hooded sweatshirt, or you just draw on a collared shirt, you're done. It's got the wrinkles and everything.
Wow, and that looks perfect.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so in that way, like rapid, stuff that you're going to use all the time that doesn't necessarily need to be redesigned every time, like a combat boot. You're not going to redesign a combat boot from the ground up every single concept. You might as well just have a stagnant one laying around.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess you know, part of becoming faster is also slowly building up your own library of models and stuff. It's the same with me. I have this huge reference library, and most of it actually grew on jobs because you're forced to look up stuff, and you also find things that maybe you wouldn't have found yourself, but someone else points you to. Like someone says, like, you see something in a mood board or something, you're like, wow, what's that? And you start looking into it, and you just find, like, you know, I really love looking up references. It's, you know,
it's fun. You can get lost. You can get sucked into it for sure.
Very easily, very easily.
Yeah.
Because
I've seen your reference folders, and I'm quite jealous. They're very well organized.
It's anal. It's like proper anal, yeah. It's funny because
I put an hour into it, and I was like, I can't do this.
Really, 1 hour, man. I put weeks into it.
I need to get better at it, though. I need to get better at it.
I call it selective OCD.
Because
you know, I don't mind leaving my socks around, but my reference folder has to be very, very precise and well organized. Yeah. But yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, it's interesting because I don't really get to do that much character designs for films, but when I do, I don't really jump into ZBrush straight away. Like, I find it easier to explore things in 2D. But I feel like we've come to a point where you can say that it actually doesn't really matter anymore if you're working 2D or 3D. Like, you can sketch in ZBrush. It's not the same as sketching on a pencil or sketching in Photoshop, but in a way it is, you know. You can do stuff really quickly, and you're coming up with ideas. There's a friend of mine, Christian, I forgot the name, but he showed me like a plugin or something, or a technique where in ZBrush you could really easily create random silhouettes. Well, not really random, but variations of silhouettes. So you'd have like a model, and then there would be a very quick way to change the silhouette of it, just so you can explore stuff. And you put a shader on your model that just removes all the details. So it's just basically a black.
It's like a flat color.
Yeah, it's just one flat, no lighting. So you can just see the silhouette, and then just explore like that, but in 3D, you know. And with 3D, like you said, you have the advantage that you can turn the camera around and explore the silhouette from different angles. Cause,
It's something, you know, and that's something that I think showed me that. I believe it was Neville Page showed me that one time. He was doing spacesuit design or some sort of sci-fi suit design, and he roughed out the shapes really quickly in ZBrush and got it down to like just kind of a lumpy surface where he knew where he wanted his details. But then he went and he made the brush super tiny and just sketched. He drew all his line work on the model and was like making a plan of attack, and then he started like actually modeling. But that was the beauty of it, is that he was concepting it out in a sketch form, and then doing orthos, and then he would send that to the client, and the client would be like, okay, yeah, that's the one I want right there, you know. So in that regard, I was like, wow, that really sped up my time concepting, you know, doing sci-fi suits in ZBrush for sure. Like, I use that as much as I can. That's so detrimental to actually sketch on the surface and not actually sculpt on the surface just yet.
But so you're doing like a line drawing, basically. Like, what are you doing? You're drawing the creases, or what exactly? How does it work?
Here, I'll show you exactly right here. Let me, screen share here. Bring up ZBrush. Might help if I turn it on.
Yeah. And there's some people asking about this technique already, because obviously they want to know.
Yeah, I'll show real quick. I won't actually like sculpt out a person, but I'll do like a little quick bust here.
And so, people, if you have any questions, write them in the chat. And as you can see how people do it, you write question, preferably in caps in front of it, and then it's easier for us to pick up. Well, for me, because I'm the only one doing it.
Okay, so, you know, just your common sphere in ZBrush.
Yeah.
So say we want to just like pull out like some sort of head shape here. and then start designing like a helmet for it. You know what I mean? So let's just get some sort of a head going so you guys can see.
I like how you turned the orange to poison green.
You like that?
Yeah, it suits with the Monster, the energy drink you're having at the moment.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Behind my computer is a purple and green light.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, gotta get OCD about those color choices.
Yep, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, so we got a general shape right here of what we're wanting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to. Normally I don't do this. I usually wait to subdivide, but we're sketching things out. So let me go ahead and fill this object with that material. And now I choose a darker color. And let's make the brush small. So, I don't want it to actually change the surface there. So, as you can tell, I can just start sketching on like some of the helmet shape ideas that I want to do.
But so your brush is set to RGB, right?
Yeah, I'm not actually affecting the surface. It's just RGB.
Yeah, so for people who don't really know how ZBrush works, you can paint in RGB, which is just color information, or you can paint in, let's call it Z depth, where you're actually painting, you're pulling geometry out or pushing it in. So he's just drawing like you would be drawing with a marker on a 3D model or sculpt.
Yeah, I can literally just start laying in some lines and seeing how they're going to play out.
That's really cool, man.
In from one view, you know what I mean? I can design in all views at the same time, and that also makes sure that seams meet up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that would have been a pain to try and map out.
Good old symmetry.
Oh yeah.
So handy.
I still don't know why Photoshop hasn't built that in yet.
Because I don't care about digital painters.
They really don't.
No, not really. They don't really care about us.
Aren't you making a toolbar or something like that? Like a plugin?
I have a toolbar that you shouldn't mention it because now people are going to bring it up again because I still haven't released it.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
Red herring.
I haven't worked on it for a while, but because I don't really have time. I've been super busy lately. But yeah, I mean, you can do quite a lot with Configurator, but I guess I kind of got bummed out a couple weeks ago when I heard that Photoshop was going to stop supporting Flash-based panels, which basically means all the panels are going to have to be rebuilt with their new system if you want to continue to use them.
Wow.
So that kind of bummed me out, and I don't know what the future holds for custom panels.
That's not cool, man. I would write a big angry letter.
Yeah, to Thomas Knoll.
So yeah, you can see how you can quickly design out.
Yeah, it's very cool. And so when you race it, you don't have to be afraid about screwing up the geometry or anything like that.
Yeah, because it's not. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll actually take my RGB intensity down to about 20, and then I'll select his gray color, and I'll fill it once or twice. See how it's fading away?
Okay.
And then I'll sculpt on top of that.
Right.
So like if I wanted like some hard surface stuff going in there, just to kind of start roughing out and blocking out the design.
Looks like a sad Iron Man.
Yeah, he's not very,
like,
not very happy right now.
And so you would use that technique, for example, let's say that you've got a basic body mesh. You would use that technique to do different line designs before you actually start sculpting, or?
Yep, I would. What I would do is I would form out an entire, character. Figure out, what is the suit? Is it how many pieces is the suit? Is it just like a sci-fi jacket with some, mech stuff on the legs? That's the stuff you have to kind of figure out early on when you build out the stuff. But generally, like the sci-fi suits, they're all one piece. You know what I mean? It's like you got your helmet, and then it covers the entire body. So
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll flush out a rough 3D model of that. I'll sketch on top of it, take an ortho, save that one out as version 1. You know, then erase all the line work and start over again, doing different stuff, and so on and so forth. You know, and probably get the client like maybe 5 or 6 designs by the end of the day. You know what I mean? And then whichever one they choose, I still have it saved. So I just, you know, I'll do exactly what I did here by making the lines a little faded, and then go in there and start sculpting on top for suit design.
That's really great.
Or I'll use I use alchemy a lot to generate random alphas to like pull out shapes for sci-fi suits.
Oh, cool, cool. I think we shared alchemy on the Level Up website. I'm not 100% sure actually, but for those who don't know, it's kind of like an experimental drawing software, I would say. With is it only symmetry based? I'm not sure. I haven't used it in a long time.
It's vector and symmetry based. You can do that kind of the same stuff you can in ZBrush, where whatever you do to one side copies over.
Huh, it's actually not on the Fusroda website. Okay, so we'll add that to the miscellaneous section. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool for abstract things. It's, you know, geometric abstract things, but just trying to come up with weird shapes or weird, you know, forms and all that. It's very cool for that. So check it out, Alchemy.
There's another website here. Let me find that real quick for you guys. That it's very much like Alchemy, but it's a little bit cooler. I don't know. I can see stuff using this for ideation. I've used it once or twice. I can't remember where I saw it, but let me go ahead and screen share real quick. And this is a website called weavesilk.com.
Ah, yeah, I think I've seen that as well, actually.
So I think you just start drawing some shapes.
Yeah.
Like right there, like that's some really cool like bone structure for some sort of creature. You don't have a lot of control.
Yeah, there's like a sort of a randomizer on it, right? So if you push, it's just gonna swirl around. The brush is gonna swirl around where you push. So yeah, you can't really precisely design, but it's sort of a happy accident thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm already seeing like kind of a demon with horns and wings, and it's all how you see it, and you know, kind of take those lines as suggestive, if you want. But I generally like doing these kinds of things because I feel that I get into habits with shapes. Like I remember for a long time there was just like one alien head that like I just kept doing over and over. I don't even know why. You know, like when you actually take note of those things, like you have to do your best as an artist, I feel, to break that safety net that you know you can do well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. I mean, look at that. That just generated a hip bone for sure. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. But
it's cool that it's using an additive brush, so you get this sort of electron scan kind of look.
Yeah, and you can almost read that as 3D forms.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So there's alchemy, and then there's this, and I've been trying to I'll do a sketch in alchemy, and then I'll overlay this in Photoshop, the weave silk, just to see what I come up with. So it's kind of fun.
Is there a way to export this image?
Excuse me. Yeah, you can either share it or you can save it to your desktop.
Please don't die during the show.
Oh, it's allergies. Everyone's mowing their lawns out here in LA.
Really? What's the allergy for?
I think it's just like I have to like cut grass in the air.
Pollens, yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, so for the people who are asking, so this one's called weavesilk.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add both of them to the Fusroda website, so weavesilk.com, and the other program's called Alchemy. And yeah, it's very cool. They're very cool little softwares to do some ideations, some shape exploring. I mean, yeah, symmetry stuff is always cool to work with. It's really sad that Photoshop doesn't have a better system. You know, actually, if you and there's so many possibilities because we think in, you know, single plane symmetry, but you could do like 3-way symmetry or 5-way. You know, you can get the sort of all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I've got some questions coming in. Here's one. Justin, did you start as a 2D artist or immediately as a 3D artist?
I spent several years really wanting to be a comic book artist. All through high school, I studied that. Drew comics for every single art. I'm sure my art teacher hated me. Drew comic book stuff for almost every single assignment that I could possibly do. Copying, doing, you know, master studies. You know, I was just copying over line work just to see how they were doing it. I didn't have any idea what I was doing back then. But yeah, I was you know, looking at stuff and tracing over, what was it, McFarlane, Silvestri, you know, Jim Lee, all those greats, you know. And then I honestly gave up drawing for almost 8 years.
Wow.
Couldn't get, you know, where I was in Springfield, Illinois. There just wasn't a lot of work there for creatives. Just, you know, there was no, the graphic design market, like, was super popular for a while, but then it got really flooded, so you couldn't make a living at that. I think I was a pizza delivery driver for Papa John's, I think.
Papa John's?
Yeah,
man, those bastards send me spam SMSs all the time. I hate that. I don't know how. I must have ordered a pizza there once, and they somehow got my phone number, and now I get messages from Papa John's all the time. It's really annoying, and I cannot unsubscribe.
Well, I'm sorry. I called them up and said.
I bet you did. I bet you're. Okay, so I got another question, which is: are you doing only character modeling, or are you also doing environments?
I do a little bit of everything. I feel that out here in Hollywood, and especially in film, that it feels like most days you got to be able to do multiples of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better to kind of specialize in one thing. I would say primarily I'm a creature designer first, and then everything else is kind of, you know, second at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you can sell yourself for one thing, and that's what people are going to come to you for, then, you know, that's good. You worked through Aaron Sims as well, didn't you?
Mm-hmm, I did.
Yeah, and I guess Aaron Sims he's mainly doing, I mean, his company is mainly doing creatures, right? I don't think I've seen like...
No, they do a little bit of everything over there. Yeah, lots of talented people over there.
Okay.
I think from what I heard, I'm not sure if he's doing that anymore, but I think he's taking more of a director's role. I think Aaron Sims is going to be directing films from now on. I'm not sure, but I mean the company's still there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going anywhere. So, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. I can't wait to see what he cranks out.
Yeah, me too. I mean, he's behind that. What's that one short film called?
Archetype.
Sorry?
I think it's called Archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robots, yeah.
Yeah.
The robot, the interrogation.
Yeah, there's some really good design work in there.
Mm-hmm.
For Archetype. I'm anxious to see that become a movie. I really am.
The thing I always feel with these shorts is that people, they see a short that's not from a big studio and they get super excited about it, but then once you pump money into it, it's almost like it's bound to go sour. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, people just like the sort of underdog stuff, and if too much money gets involved for some reason, that's all. You know, it's almost no way that it's going to be good anymore. It just, you know, goes to hell for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I recently watched a low budget film called The Machine,
Mm-hmm.
and it was I believe honestly the closest thing we're gonna get to a Ghost in the Shell
Oh, okay.
live action. That it's good, you know what I mean? Like if it's gonna be big budget and it's gonna be in Hollywood, the producers are gonna cut everything away that's original and they're gonna try and make it like episodic. You know what I mean? It's like
Exactly. Exactly.
they're gonna try and play it too safe. It's not gonna be fun.
And I noticed that you're actually, because we you know, we were gonna get into your demo, but I see that you're already sculpting something, so the people are already watching. So if you want, you can continue on whatever you're doing now, or if you want to start something new. Basically, Justin is just gonna show us a bit of his workflow in ZBrush, of how he designs stuff quickly.
Yeah, and I think earlier you were talking about going to a more silhouette stage. Is this what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Just a flat shade, so you can just focus on silhouette. Because silhouette is just so important because it's something that we read so quickly, and it's the safest way to make sure that the oval shapes or the big shapes work. And then how you fill it in is really not that important anymore.
And that's just by choosing that flat color. But I'll make sure you go ahead and turn this back on. So
Hey, Justin, didn't you have to remind me of something? You didn't remind me.
You have tea in the freezer.
Yes, exactly. Thanks. Oh, okay, all right. It's not frozen. It's just really nice and cold. Perfect.
Win.
Okay, so some questions coming in. So for learning ZBrush, I mean, I guess you learned it quite a while ago. What resources would you say are best in your opinion?
In learning ZBrush?
Yeah.
Well, there's so many places you can go. Pixelogic actually has a really great website, ZBrush Central, and they have plenty of how to use videos. There's an excellent helmet building one by Joseph Drust that just came out. That was super informative. I love that one.
Okay.
There's all sorts of places. You know, you can go to ZBrushHangouts.com, which is like a Google Hangout for people that want to learn and get to know ZBrush a little bit more.
So you can just jump in, or what?
Yeah, just jump in. You know, don't be scared. Just get in there and figure stuff out. It is intimidating. The first time you kind of open it up, there's a lot of things to look at, and
a lot of cool things.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember opening ZBrush the first time and being like, oh my God, I'm never going to learn this program.
I think most people feel like that.
Yeah, you know, you just really got to get in there and put in the mileage.
It's because the developers completely refuse to follow any norms or standards in regards to just like.
It's so funny. I can't stand Maya's interface. Oh.
Maya's just too big and too clogged.
Yeah.
But at least, you know, the format is following those of most software.
Yeah.
ZBrush is just its own world. It's like, screw the rest. This is how we think, and everyone has to adjust. And they won. They won the game. People adjust.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ask you how to get those brush shortcuts at the bottom after the session, actually, because
oh sure,
I did it, but then I forgot how to do it because I haven't used ZBrush since last summer when I saw.
Oh wow, really? Oh yeah. I remember you dabbling in that.
Yeah, I just actually I don't really know ZBrush. I mean, I just played around for it for like a few weeks, and I did some hard surf stuff and some, you know, some creatures, but then I sort of quit. But
Quitter.
yeah, get back quitter. Time, man, time.
But yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of resources out there. Digital tutors. What else? Who else has tutorials? CGMA.
Yeah, definitely go to Digital Tutors because Justin has a class there.
I do. I also have a class on ZBrush workshops.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm eating in the background, but I'm really hungry. That's why I turned off my camera. So professional.
Not even gonna share with me, man. That's not cool.
What am I supposed to do? Fax you the food?
Yeah, yeah.
No, everything since you told me that Papa John's story, I'm not sharing anything with you anymore. You screwed me over.
I know. Sorry, bro.
So you're using the hook, the snake hook tool now to bring out some shapes.
Just moving. Just like what I'll do is I'll mask something out.
And then I assume you'll use like a Z remesh or something like that to make sure that everything looks good again. Okay. Some people have been asking about that. But.
Yeah, my workflow is I always start out in Dynamesh, blocking in the forms real quickly. And then what I'll do is once I get it to a point where I want to start adding detail, I will then Z remesh just to make sure that I have the correct topology. But at that point, all my major decisions have to be made as far as design work goes.
Someone's asking what you used to create the wall. I'm not sure what he's talking about.
What did I use to create
the wall?
The wall. Oh, okay. I did a piece entitled "The Wall."
Okay. If you want to hear it.
Yeah, that was mostly ZBrush. What I did was I used a lot of pieces and brushes from Bad King, which is like a free ZBrush community website.
Yep.
And from that website, they had a bunch of hard surface pieces that I just kind of used that to kind of twist and form into place. And just to show like the power of ZBrush and whatnot, let me show you a little bit of what that does. So like you can load up brushes that have
meshes basically, or what?
Yeah, mini meshes, and then you have all these pieces to choose from.
And
I'll just pick and choose those things, and like if I wanted pieces here, or here, you can just kind of quickly make some strange looking shapes. And what I did was I just kind of kit bashed some forms together.
Yep.
To make the wall. Yeah. That was an experiment because I was like, I wonder if I can make cities in ZBrush and render those out and paint on top of them.
I guess in theory you can do anything in any 3D software. It's just knowing the right. And so do you sometimes model stuff outside of ZBrush and then bring it in as a brush? You can do that, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, very rarely. If I do, it's Google SketchUp.
Okay.
I just don't like any of the other software. I'm trying to find time to get into Modo. I like what I'm seeing with people that are working in it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not having such a good experience with Modo at the moment.
Oh really? You don't like it that much?
The problem is it's just not a very stable piece of software. That's the only thing. I constantly feel scared in Modo when I'm doing complex stuff that it's gonna crash on me. But I absolutely love Mesh Fusion, and I've been using it to create some pieces. It's pretty amazing to create just really nice, complicated hard surface stuff with Mesh Fusion. I don't know if you've heard about it or if you know what it is.
I've been reading a little bit of it, and I've been paying attention to seeing what like Gavril's doing.
Yeah, for example.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Mesh Fusion is a plugin that you can buy for Modo, where basically you can just get shapes or any type of shape, or any model or mesh, and by putting them through each other, you can choose whether that they merge into each other, they cut, one cuts out of the other, or the opposite. So you have what's left over of the intersection, basically. And so with those three tools, and you can just bring in different pieces, and it's amazing. Just look it up. Just look up Mesh Fusion. It's just amazing the kind of stuff, the complex stuff that you can make with it in a very short amount of time. It's really intuitive. I saw a little demo from a guy. I think he's someone who works at Luxology, and he showed how to do a cyclist helmet. You know those those helmets that usually look kind of futuristic, and they have these sort of holes and curves and stuff. And he did it so simply, just by putting in some shapes and cutting them out. Maybe if people are interested, I can show you like the mech that I'm working on. I'm actually doing it in Cinema 4D because I don't trust Modo and it's crashing on this model. So I'm just putting everything together in Cinema 4D, but the pieces are actually not modeled in Cinema 4D. They're modeled in Modo, SketchUp, or they're kit bashed from other existing models.
Yeah.
Or maybe just hold on, just give me 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to see that, actually. Robots? Are you kidding me? Yes, please.
In the meantime, let me see if there's some questions. Oh, okay, so here's a good one. Do you have any creature artists that you really look up to as inspiration?
Oh man, that's an ever expanding library.
Everyone on CG Hub.
Yeah, everyone that was on CG Hub. No, I would say when I first got into this stuff, I really wanted to do work for Stan Winston when he was around. Man, that list is so crazy big. Geiger, Neville Page, plenty of creature designers. I always watch Brian Winia, Ian Joyner, Dominic Queck. Yeah, those are like my new favorites. Growing up, I would have to say, anything that was that dark era of Henson, that was like the Dark Crystal. It was very fantasy heavy. I'm not quite sure who did the creature design and stuff for like Neverending Story. That's the stuff that inspired me the most growing up. The Star Wars stuff. A lot of Rick Baker. I haven't actually met Rick yet, but yeah, pretty crazy. The list is ever growing. There's so many creature designers that I truly enjoy watching. Jared Moran's, actually got to work with him. Always loved his stuff. Yeah, so many.
Too much inspiration, right?
Too much inspiration. The internet has ruined me.
Well, I guess it's better to be spoiled than anything. Okay. So I'm just quickly gonna switch to my screen for a minute. You can just sculpt on.
Okay.
So this is basically like what I'm working on right now.
Ooh, cool.
And it's not modeled in Cinema 4D. I'm just using Cinema 4D to put everything together because I don't know, it just works easy for me and it's not crashing like in Modo. But you use different symmetries and instances, like the legs are a three-way symmetry because there's 3 legs.
Yeah.
Instances. And then this front bit is a 2-way symmetry, but then some pieces are not symmetrical. But it's quite detailed. If you get close to it, you can see that it's all pretty detailed. And then usually what I'll do is I'll export this as some kind of format and bring it into Keyshot. Everybody loves Keyshot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Love that. I'm actually on the beta for the new ZBrush and the new Keyshot, and I will tell you this, people, it's awesome.
Oh, they're doing
That's all I can
Keyshot for
say.
ZBrush.
That's all I can say.
Holy crap. That's good.
Yeah. I love it when companies work together to make the best use of technology. I really do. I feel like that doesn't happen that much anymore.
No, I mean, it depends. There's a lot of politics at play, you know.
Yeah.
Google's angry at Apple, and then Apple has a little cry, and, you know, this kind of shit. Wow, and this is taking 5 billion years to import because it's just too many pieces, and we're on a Hangout, so I guess it's going slower. Maybe I can show people your screen for a minute so they don't have to watch the boring stuff. Okay, so got it back. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, so yeah, the cool thing about Keyshot is it's very quick, and you've got all these materials that are already ready, and you can just slap them on, and it will follow. If you got stuff separately in groups, or if you have separate materials, it will remember all that stuff. I don't think ZBrush uses texture tags, right? I don't think it works in Keyshot. Sorry, Keyshot doesn't use texture tags. So if you're using texture tags on, and a texture tag is basically that a model, or you know, a mesh has certain polys that have a different texture than another. It doesn't work. So you have to have stuff separately if you want to give it separate materials. But it's very nice to like play around and, like, for example, let's say that I want to give this a shiny black surface, and then maybe I want to turn this into shiny metal. Maybe I'll just turn the whole damn thing. And then you can just slap a nice little environment on top of it. And it just takes those colors and it just looks awesome straight away.
Love it. Love it.
Then obviously the good thing is you can do different passes, so you can just render out different passes and start overlaying stuff in Photoshop. We'll get to that a bit later in this session.
Yeah.
That's
very much like how I do a lot of my stuff, is that I'll render it out in Keyshot and then I'll paint on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Someone says Keyshot is simply raping my processor.
Yep, it will do that.
Yeah.
You can actually go into your preferences and have it only use 1 or 2 cores.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm still at a very low res, but I can get in here and kind of move things around.
So you're focusing more on overall design before you start subdividing too much, right?
Right. Yeah. I want to solidify the design choices that I'm making before doing any kind of like Z remeshing or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess the same fundamentals apply to everything, where you always have to see the bigger picture first.
Yeah.
Go in and focus on the details and lose track of things.
Yeah. It's very easy to do so. You get lost in just making details.
It's like you're in a forest, but you're only looking at trees. You don't see the big forest anymore. You have to focus on the bigger picture before you get in there and start doing skin pores and all that stuff.
So scale these ears down a little bit. Pull them out.
Have you ever used Mudbox?
No, I haven't, but I heard that the texture painting in Mudbox is where it's at. Like, it's really awesome. It's very much like Photoshop.
Okay. I guess Mari is kind of trying to fill that void then on the Luxology end.
I haven't used that yet. There's a class I think by Justin Holt I want to take. I'm not sure what website that is on, but yeah, definitely one of those I want to check out.
Okay, here's a very serious question for you. Justin, if you're in a room with Dan Levisi and Kim Kardashian and you have to shoot one of them, who are you going to shoot?
Well, I have to shoot one of them?
Yeah.
Oh, Kim Kardashian.
Obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bros before hoes.
Yeah, exactly. Two words that very much apply in this case. No, I like Kim. She's all right. Yeah, we had a good time.
No, that's a good quality answer. I like that one.
Brandon says Kim Kardashian with every bullet in the mag. Why do you hate, man? Why?
Double tap. Double tap.
This sounds more like 12, like the dozen tap. Okay, I'm gonna look for some more questions while people look at you sculpting. Someone asks, do you also make low polys of your highs? I guess they're asking if you make low poly models for for games or real time graphics.
No, most of my using in 3D is purely for a 2D image. So right. I generally don't even worry about topology or
movies and all that.
Yeah, I really don't. But it's one of those things where the more and more I do these kinds of things, like the more and more I figure out what's a good thing and what's a bad thing, what's a no-no, you know what I mean? Which actually keeps you employed longer. You know, if you can retopo your own model, then they'll just keep you on. You know what I mean? Like, it all depends on what it's going to be for. If you like say you're not a good production modeler, but you know how to use Mari and you design the character, so you're gonna do the best job of texturing it. You know what I mean? So that's another thing where you can just kind of stay working on your character longer.
But so it happens sometimes that, like, I mean, if you're doing a concept in 3D, I'm guessing at some point it's happened that they go like, hey, can we have the model? Because actually we have to build an asset of this right now.
Yeah, that's if they know that you're using ZBrush, they will always ask for it.
Right.
Which is also nice because you can kind of charge more.
Sure, but here's the price ticket for the model.
Yeah.
Well, like, freelancer.
Yeah, freelancer. That's a freelancer kicking in.
Yeah, otherwise everything in the contract basically means they just own everything already.
Yeah. Yeah, it all depends. It depends, I've definitely learned you have to be contract savvy. That's for sure.
Okay, so this is a question that we ask every week. Maybe you know it already. If you could be Godzilla or a billionaire, which one would you be?
Ooh. I'd go Godzilla. Why not?
Just wreck stuff. Just go.
Yeah. Gets to nap all the time. Wake up, kick some ass, go back to bed.
Die.
Die.
With some, with some infant still running around in some subway. Oh no, wait, we don't have to refer to that movie anymore because a new Godzilla just came out.
Yeah, I've already seen. You're gonna laugh. I've already seen it like twice.
Twice? Really?
Yeah.
Well, in the
theater.
being
A creature guy, it's like you gotta go see that. You gotta go pay homage to the homies that worked on that. I think it looked amazing. It's like there's gonna be those people that are gonna be like, yeah, man, but the story, and it's like, dude, it's Godzilla. You knew you were gonna go watch monsters. I mean, did you really expect like a Gone with the Wind? Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah, just popcorn, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's seriously. I had a blast watching it.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, like I tend to like almost everything that I see. I'm definitely a child of the cinema. You know, my first job was at a movie theater. Yeah, that's kind of where I thrive, I guess.
No, that's fine. It's cool.
Is going to the
It's
movie.
great that you work in the field that you love so much. I think that's.
Oh yeah. It's definitely inspiring. You know, but you know what kills me? It's like I've almost worked on 20 films so far, and like it's so hard to make sure that your name gets on the screen. I haven't yet to see my name on the screen.
Yeah. Don't go easy with the credits.
Yeah.
Very political thing, credits, and for some reason credits cost money, which is the most stupid thing ever. And if you're working freelance or in a VFX house, you're much less likely to get a credit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working during the production in the art department or something, you're probably going to get a credit. But yeah, I have a couple of films that I'm pretty sure once IMDb checks the credits, they're going to change it to uncredited because I won't be in the credits. But, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, you still have it in your CV, and you can still show the work that you did on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It kind of bums me out because really, adding an extra line in your little After Effects scrolling text preset costs you that much money. It's nonsense, really. I mean, it's about screen time. Obviously, you pay for screen time. But
and there's unions and all that good stuff. Yeah, you got to learn that stuff when you come out here. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. I know of people who worked on a film for 8 months and didn't get a credit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know people that make big design choices that actually sometimes even influence the story and stuff, and just no credit. So,
oh yeah, I actually have a friend of mine. He was just sitting in on a meeting for a film, and they were like, we still don't know what to call it. And he's like, what about this? And they're like, we love it. And then it's like I can't say who or what it was about, but the guy didn't even work for the company, and they made this major popcorn movie that comes out soon, like his title, just over a phone call.
Wow. Yeah.
It's just like, what? That actually happened? Like, oh my gosh.
It's the Facebook story all over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Screw over your friends.
Yep.
Not everyone is an honorable man like you, Justin. Who would shoot? Most men would not shoot Kim Kardashian. They'd shoot Dan right in the face. They go, sorry, Dan, but come on, man, it's Kim.
Nah. Dan's contributing to the world. She isn't.
She's contributing something.
Yeah, but it's not good.
No, it's got a bit of a stench. Damn, this is gonna be eternalized on YouTube. We need to shut up and focus on the real stuff. Okay, next question. Justin, what was your shortest deadline?
Shortest deadline? I had to do a creature one time in 4 hours. They were like, we need something by end of day, and it was already like 1 o'clock, and I was just like, all right.
Detailed?
I did my best. They were like, they were blown away, but I don't think they realized that, you know, I did it in ZBrush.
Okay.
You know, where I got all sides. You know what I mean? Like, I quickly concepted it out, you know, and did some lighting passes and stuff, and they were just like, oh my god. I was like, well, it's not, you know, it's what I could do in just a couple hours. Imagine a week.
Yeah. I guess they don't really care about how you did it, as long as you get results. It's always good to impress them.
Yeah.
To do a little bit more. Definitely in the beginning that you start out. After that, you can start slacking. That's what people do. Charge more, slack more. I guess that's human nature.
Oh yeah. Definitely, definitely. I've already Z-remeshed already, so
Okay.
I have my forms in there. Now I'm just kind of putting in some fleshy bits, building up some bone structure and some.
So I see that you have these things on the side, which is a darker material. Is that a separate or
separate subtool?
okay.
I try to design a lot of my creatures out like as if there were like Muppets, like Jim Henson's Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
So these parts are all like this would be a mouth. So if the client wants to see the mouth open, I'm already set up to show him what that looks like.
Right. And how about materials? Would you create separate subtools for materials, or is that not as important for you? Are you mostly focusing things that I might have to move or rotate, like stuff that has joints or bones that you would?
Yeah. Anything that moves is what I'm concerned with the most. Because materials, I can just paint that in. You know what I mean?
Okay. So teeth and eyeballs, you wouldn't necessarily do that separately.
Yeah, not necessarily. Not necessarily. In fact, that actually reminds me. Let's go ahead and add some eyeballs here so we can see.
So I guess that's also really because you're using it as a concepting tool and not as an asset building tool.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more along the lines of building an asset to kind of paint on top over and over.
Yeah. So basically, the speed becomes more important than this little technical things that you have to worry about.
Exactly. Exactly. That's too small. Let's see here.
Gonna put
It's
heavy
just about
on
speeding up your workflow. You know what I mean? Because if you have to draw, like, imagine having to like draw an army of these aliens. Like, it would take forever if you didn't have like a 3D asset. You could pose out like maybe 10 different versions, and then you just kind of slap them into your scene.
Mm-hmm.
They're already properly lit. You know what I mean? It's such a time saver.
Man, it looks so creepy right now. Just
Well,
a bare eyeball is just so creepy without anything on it.
I'll make it nice and creepy here for you.
Thanks.
Let's see here. What can I do? Let's make it black.
Cool.
Yeah. What else can we do here? We'll make his eyes shiny. And then we'll go back to this one. There we go. How's that for creeping you out?
Yeah, man, it looks good. Looks like I'm looking into the devil's soul.
Nice. So yeah, is there any other questions?
Yeah. I'm actually just going through them right now. Someone asked how many years you've been modeling.
I've only been modeling for coming up on my 4th year.
Okay. How long do you think it would take to get to like a really pro level?
You know, I think that depends on the person. You know, if you want to dive into it and just learn stuff, you know, that's all up to you. How much can you take before you have to take a break? You know what I mean? I feel that I was lucky enough to work in an internship where I was literally learning ZBrush on the job all day, every day, surrounded by people that you know, that were already familiar with the software. That was definitely a blessing.
Yeah, so basically your learning curve is very dependent on the resource you have available, right?
Yeah. I mean that's you know that also comes into play when you guys are like looking for like internships or something like that. Now a lot of people say don't work for free. I totally agree with that. But if you're going to a place where you don't know the software that they're working in, and they're going to train you. Like, it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of like a catch-22. It's like, it's definitely worth it to gain that knowledge than not to.
I guess if you're becoming trained, you're getting a benefit from it. It's not like you're just working for them and they're not paying you. They're not really.
Right. Yeah, there's a benefit to it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, that seems fair to me, honestly.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it happens a lot, especially out here, and being, owning a studio, that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid people taking advantage of other people, and it just happens so much out here.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It kind of gets to you sometimes. Yeah.
It's not only in the States.
It's everywhere from what I hear. But.
Yeah. It's something that we've talked about on Level Up before, where I said that I feel like there's a few ways to climb the ladder in the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can either somehow get into a company where you'll probably start at a low position before you develop your skills. So you start as a runner or anything like that, and then you work your way up, however that is, through politics, through, showing progress or whatever. The other way is to sit in your room by yourself in your little art cave and just work like a freak until you've got enough mileage that you actually produce some really good work.
Mm-hmm.
And then the work will come to you.
Yep.
When you get into a company, then you're immediately on a high position. So you skip actually that whole ladder climbing business.
Oh yeah.
I think the ladder is
sometimes better. That's just the best route to go.
Yeah, I think the ladder is a lot better because a lot of companies, when you come in as a runner or anything like that, or a PA, if you're good at being a PA, then why would they get someone else? A lot of people like to keep you in the position that you're at, or they keep you there as long as they can, because you're handy, basically.
Yeah.
That's not something you want to get into if you've really got high aspirations. I know some people who are really talented but don't really have the skills yet, just because they haven't had enough time to practice, and they're stuck in this job, and they're in the industry that they want to work in, but they're not doing the job that they want to do. They're doing something else, and they're watching other people do the job that they want to do, but they're unable to, and that's really frustrating. I mean, that's like a fat lady standing in front of a cake shop, right? I mean, it just, yeah, I feel like you should try to get to what you want to be first, and then work your way into a company after that, and it'll be a lot more comfortable for you.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. There are definitely, and the other thing I would say is surround yourself with positive people.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot express that. If anything that I've learned out of my life in the last 4 years is go to where the work is for what you want to do. Now I know, like, yeah, in this day and age, like, people just get hired over the internet, but it really helps to live in the area in which things are made for your talent set or whatever. But it's also, surround yourself with good people. I can't tell you enough out here that, when, like, for instance, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this art book, I'm going to do this Kickstarter, it's going to be, like, my own IP and everything, and I thought for sure people would be like, maybe you should wait, maybe you should do this or whatever. And I'm like, no, I think I can do it. And then everyone was just like, yeah, do it. We can't wait for it. And then I was like, I really want to do like a little CG trailer. I have enough friends and a basic understanding of how VFX work. And I'm like, I think we could pull off a CG trailer, like a minute-long CG trailer for my IP. And everyone seems to be right behind it. I told them the idea, I showed them some of the artwork that I have generated for it so far, and everyone's very positive. And it's one of those things where regardless if it fails or not, a positive lesson was learned.
Yeah, and that applies to everything in life, really. It's really about the mindset a lot of times, and I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of morale.
Oh yeah.
Or how is someone with a good morale, or someone with good morale can have an influence on you or a big impact on you. That's why people who are politicians or people who are just inspirational people in general, they're just good at talking and conveying ideas and emotions to get someone, to agree to something or excited for something. And it's very, like you said, it's very important to be around people who actually push you in a positive direction. And people who don't really care or tell you that you're gonna fail, it's very easy to get caught up in and actually believe them and just be like, oh yeah, it's a buzzkill basically,
Oh yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
It's a lot of there's a lot of self-doubt. I mean, even though I'm still doing it and working on it when I can in between client work. There's still the doubt. There's always going to be that. I've actually spoken to Dan Levisi several times on the matter, and he's been a very positive influence, and everybody over there at Section 9.
Mm-hmm.
They're all doing their own thing, and it's just it's awesome. You go in there and everybody's working on their own IP, and it's just the positive energy is great over there. It really is.
Yeah, it really feeds you in general. Really does.
Keeps me going. I mean, like I'm kind of doing my own thing now with the Ironclad Studios, but I would say I learned the most about what I want to do. Eventually, whether it's creating my own content and creating my own creatures for my own story to tell, I definitely learned that from Dan for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very positive influence.
Well, I guess Dan's also a good example of the fact that it is possible to follow your own IP.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And he definitely taught me like the fact if it was easy, then everyone would do it. The road is going to be tough and full of self-doubt, but yeah, you'll get there eventually.
Yeah, and again, that's where the positive mindset comes into play, because people who will choose to give up are the people who get discouraged and somehow believe that it's not possible, and then you're like, why waste time, right?
Right.
But actually, it was possible. If one person can do, actually, you said if it was easy, everyone would do it. That's true. But on the other hand, everyone can do it. It's just not easy. It's just not easy. Not everyone has the persistence to really push the envelope all the time. I mean, you got to make sacrifices. You got to spend a lot of time. You got to put hours into it. But if this is what you love, then it's worth doing it, because after that, you're going to be paid to draw spaceships your whole life. How cool is that? How cool is that?
Yeah. It's just one of those things where if you gotta want it bad enough, because people can smell desperation, and if you're on the verge of giving up, they can smell like the effort that you're putting into things. If you barely really did anything on a piece of artwork, I can tell you don't really want it that badly. You know what I mean? That's also when it comes to looking at portfolios and stuff. I can tell if you cared about any project or not.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things I took away from going to Nomen, was I treated every homework assignment like a portfolio piece. And, I ended up getting hired before I was even finished over there. I was one year into the 3-year program.
Wow.
And I was hired.
Yeah, it's actually something, you bring up a point that I mentioned on Level Up before, is that actually not only for yourself having a positive mindset and being motivated and passionate is important, it's something that clients like to see as well. If a client thinks that maybe you're not that good, but he sees this passion, someone who's really driven to learn and to get better and to come up with cool things, they might actually hire you. just because that spark's there, and people just like that, you know, and it's
Oh
promising.
yeah, absolutely. Like you can always you know, get better on the job, or if they feel that they can train you. You know, that's the other thing. You know, you your personality has to be there, and you know, you have to be showing some talent. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's I'd say it's 25% professionalism, 25% skill, 50% likability. Because if I can't, you know, if I can't work with you, I don't, you know, I'm not gonna hire you.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen it. I've seen it. Guys who have good portfolios, but they're total assholes, and
Yeah.
people like, yeah, well, you know, his work might be good, but we're not gonna work with that guy because, yeah, it just it just doesn't go. Just doesn't go well.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with frequencies as well. You know, like like we were talking about Jupiter before. I worked with the Wachowskis for nearly 3 years. I don't work with them now anymore. We worked together for 3 years, and I got to know them quite well. And yeah, I think they liked working with me because they felt like I was on the same frequency as them. When they explained a brief, then I got it, you know, and that's very important that you feel like when you communicate with someone, they sort of get what you want to see, because not everyone's as good as explaining what they want, you know, like a lot of directors, they know what they want, but they can't tell you. Like, yeah, we want something, you know, like this, but, you know, because it's your job to come up with it, basically.
Yeah.
It's not their job. They can just, you know, give descriptions. Some are more, you know, are better at being descriptive than others. But it's your job to actually read that person's mind and come up with the most awesome interpretation of what that person is envisioning. That's a big responsibility, and it's not easy, you know.
No, it's
Someone
not.
says we want a cool chair. What does a chair look like? Well, okay, you know what a normal chair looks like. You know, it's got 2 legs and a square piece to sit on and a, you know, a back support. But there's a million chairs out there, and you want to come up with something that they're going to be like, yeah, that's what we're looking for, you know.
Exactly.
Not just the first thing that crosses your mind, but something that makes you stand out and makes, you know, gives them something unique, something, maybe even something that gives them new ideas. Because actually being a concept artist, you can definitely, in the pitching phase, you can have a lot of influence on the outcome of the project.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's where the fun, you know, the fun stuff comes in. You know, I remember being in the room when some work was done for some of the turtle movie that's coming out, and seeing you know, the guys at Aaron Sims like tackle some of the design choices, and just being a part of that open discussion, you know, is one of the best parts of designing. I feel that's where I really feel like, I guess that's the funnest part for me, is just being involved, and you know, everybody sitting around, you know, making some really cool looking art, and then but you know, when someone sees something else in someone else's art and it spawns an idea and it makes it to the screen, like that's super
That's
fun.
magic, yeah.
Yeah.
Magic, definitely.
Just being in a room of, you know, of talented people, figuring stuff out like that, like, yeah, it's so fun. Which is like one of the reasons that you know, instead of staying freelance, I kind of wanted to start building up a studio. I definitely miss that aspect of being around inspirational people and, you know, growing as an artist.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really double-edged sword. I mean, they both have great benefits. I love switching between the two. Like the last few years, what I've been doing, I've been working about 6 months a year, 5 months a year in-house position. Because like you said, you learn so much more when you're in a creative environment and there's people doing awesome stuff all around you, and suddenly you realize, like, wow, you know, I gotta step up my game because everyone's awesome. But you learn a lot, and most people are not assholes. They usually share and, you know, give advice or give critique or whatever, and you can work on each other's ideas and stuff. Being freelance gives you other benefits. You can wake up at 12 and then derp around for 4 hours and then start painting after dinner. Those kind of things. I mean, yeah, it's about choices in the end, about priorities. I guess if you're a disciplined person, it's fine. if you lack discipline, maybe you're better off finding an in-house position somewhere, or starting your own studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things where I've kind of feel spoiled when it comes to the freelance stuff, where I've been doing it for so long. Like my schedule is my own. You know what I mean? Like trying to snap into a studio setting also is pretty hard when you're so used to doing everything whenever you feel like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, you have to get used to it. But yeah, I think for me, I need it as a structure in my life from time to time. I'm kind of a night creature if I don't have a full-time job, where I slowly seep into it. You know, every day you go to sleep 10 minutes later before you realize it. You're always going to bed when the birds are whistling.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that. I actually finished. This is so depressing, but I finished 7 seasons of House in 2 weeks.
Wow, marathon.
Yeah, I went crazy. I was constantly watching that show. Definitely binge watched while I worked.
But you were still working at the same time. It's not like
Oh yeah.
laying in a couch, right?
Right, no.
Okay, I think that's all right. I mean, another great thing about this job is that, at least if you practice it, you can multitask certain things while you're working. Talking, maybe not so much. A lot of people have problems talking while they're painting or sculpting, but you can definitely listen to things and maybe even watch things in your peripheral. And actually, when I'm working in the studio, I'm listening to stuff or watching stuff all day long. And sometimes I just put on tutorials of software that, like, I'll just put on tutorials of Modo or ZBrush or whatever, and not even watch it, but just hearing it in the background, is sort of fueling my brain. I don't know if it really works. It's like people who, record their syllabus and then play it at night before they have their exam and hope. It might be a myth. But anyway, just surrounding yourself with information while you're working is really good. It can be music as well. Music can actually influence your work. And
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much addicted to listening to movie soundtracks while I work.
Yeah, it's just too epic, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, and I tested something out. I was doing a demo at Red Engine, and I put on music while I was doing the demo, and like all of a sudden, like people were way more entertained, which was funny, because normally sometimes demos can be super awesome and informative, but you're still falling asleep. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a dark room. It's either hot or warm. You know what I mean? Like, so you just kind of nod off, right?
Yeah.
Man,
I know it's in front of the computer while I'm working, so.
So yeah, I mean, like it was. It's something I think I'm gonna do from now on. Is just kind of turn on Spotify and put that music down low and just start going to town.
Yeah, no, it's good. I watch movies as well sometimes while working. Well, I don't really watch them. I watch them in my peripheral. They're on the second monitor. Yeah. I've been watching Game of Thrones again from season 1 last week, and it's been like influencing my color palettes in my work. It's quite interesting.
It's funny how that works out. It definitely you can for sure influence. I've been watching a lot of like Star Wars and Firefly and Prometheus. Like the colors that they chose, the nice cools and the warm glows, and some of the instrument panels are so alluring that you're just like, before you know it, you're like, wait, I'm painting my creature those colors. Why am I?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of gets sucked in, and you're like, oh, yeah, I should probably not do that for this one.
Okay, I'm gonna look. We've got about 35 minutes left, so we're already almost an hour and a half into the session, actually.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It feels like we just kind of started.
Yeah, no, we're actually 75% through. I mean, we don't have to stick strictly to the time. We can stop early or stop a bit later, whatever.
Okay.
When you feel like you finished the demo. it already looks amazing, man. I mean, I love
Oh, well, thank you.
I love the main stuff, and I love now how you're sort of detailing and getting some nice things in there. If it's possible, maybe if we could before the end of the session go into like I don't know how long it takes for you to do some basic texturing or painting before you would make a render, or would you do the texturing entirely in 2D?
You know, it all depends. I like putting a base coat down in ZBrush, and I'm doing more and more of that, just because my workflow has changed since the beta. So I don't know if I can go. I'll try and do my old way. I can't. Yeah, this is the normal version of ZBrush, so I can't even do it the new way. And I think I'm not allowed to show the new way. So, but it's definitely way faster than what it used to be with the new ZBrush changes. But I can definitely go over how I kind of blot and do some airbrush tests in this. But ultimately, I'll drop them into Keyshot and render out texture passes as well on that. And then once I get enough renders and enough versions where I can have enough to give the client variations, that's when it all kind of comes together. I can try and see if I can get this one rendered all the way out in 35 minutes. Let's see.
Do you ever use Spotlight or anything like that to texture your?
Oh yeah. That's very handy. I generally wasn't before, but now I kind of feel like it's easier to kind of create like a really cool alien-looking like skin tone texture in Photoshop, and then kind of like airbrush it on where I need it to be, and then make adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really textured much in ZBrush, but I'm not a big fan of just painting, just regular painting. I feel like also maybe, if you're used to Photoshop brushes, you feel like every brush in every other software is inferior. But I played around with Spotlight, and I think if you've got the right textures, you can actually get really amazing texture maps for your models really fast. I know for models, for alien models, you can look up like photos of squids and stuff. It's very good. A lot of sea creatures, I would say, definitely have really interesting skin tones, and you got to watch out with lighting, and you don't want to get like speculars and stuff in there. You want to get that stuff off the actual geo. But just using pieces of real animals, you can get some really cool effects with that using Spotlight texturing.
So I'm just kind of like developing the inner part of the mouth here. I'll probably not do that too much because it's going to be closed for the most part.
Okay, so someone asks, man, what's wrong with me today? I'm just so flabbergasted by you, Justin, that I can't even talk.
Stop.
Making you blush, right? What are your pet peeves when you're working? I don't know the word pet peeve. Maybe you know it.
Like that's some of the like pet peeve is like annoyances.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my annoyances. Okay.
For what's my pet peeves for what?
What are your pet peeves when you are working?
When I am working.
What, Microsoft in general, maybe?
Man, when I'm working, any kind of crash, it kills the mojo.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, let me save this now.
Yeah, I was just about to say it really kills your mojo if you realize that it's your own fault because you didn't save it any damn time.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about Moto. I save all the time because I'm so paranoid of it crashing. So it doesn't happen that you go an hour without saving.
I'm trying to think here. Pet peeves while I'm working.
Your dog?
No, my dogs bring me happiness. Usually, a much needed break.
It was a bad pun, but anyway. Okay.
I don't know. Man. Noisy neighbors.
Okay.
People across from me drive me nuts sometimes.
Okay.
But,
so yeah, nothing out of the ordinary.
yeah, nothing. Yeah, just
Nothing specifically work related.
Just common everyday things.
Okay.
Now, see, here I am designing the back of it. When you're not gonna see the back of it yet. So.
Just a habit, I guess.
Yeah, I've always. It's one of that's a pet peeve where you really come to like a certain design, but the client's like, no, that's not it, and then you just finish working on it anyways because you like it.
Yeah.
You're just like, you don't know what you want. This is gold.
You want this. I know you do.
Yeah, exactly. I know you want this. Let me see here. I think we're gonna give him some added. I like him how he is. I think.
Yeah, it looks great, man. I love it. And so maybe it would be cool if you could, if you don't mind, obviously, if you could save the ZBrush file and then send it to me later so I can add it to the website.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we always add the demo files, but they're usually PSD, but I don't see why it couldn't be a ZBrush file. If people want to look a little bit closer, because the resolution of that Google Hangouts is not always fantastic. So. So when you're designing this creature, like, how much do you think you're relying on your visual library? I mean, you clearly have an understanding of. I mean, if I'm looking at the neck piece, I'm seeing all these little disgusting things that are clearly drawn from real animals or real parts of animals or creatures or anything. Like, is that something that you just got through sculpting a lot or drawing or looking at animals, or how does that work?
You really have to, especially with creature stuff, you really got to look at what's going on in nature, especially for Western audiences. It's different with with the whole Japanese kaiju stuff, because that can kind of do whatever it wants.
Okay.
It all depends on what you're going for. Like I tend to gather lots of reference, and then over the years, I just kind of I know what insect parts look like, and
right.
But yeah, having strong reference is always key, I feel.
Yeah, you got to start by looking at the world, right?
Yeah, you really do, and just taking it all in. I have not been able to travel much, but that's definitely something I feel makes you a better artist.
And a more original artist.
Yeah.
Mostly in my experience. The longer I am away from my latest travel, the more cliche my art becomes. I see it every single time. It's really interesting because when you get more isolated, you tend to look more at other art. And our attention span is very short, so a lot of times we're influenced by things. We're either influenced by things that we've known our whole life or things that we saw very recently. But everything else sort of fades very easily. So, yeah, our attention span when it comes to inspiration is quite short, I would say. So you tend to be inspired by things you've experienced or seen recently. And when you're traveling, you're going back to sort of a foundation, and you're getting from all the tropes.
I enjoyed. What was it like? You went traveling recently. That you did a bunch of plein air paintings. I think that I really dug.
Yeah, I did a bunch of plein airs in Thailand last year, and Myanmar as well. Yeah, that was great. I mean, yeah, I really love doing that. Just going to places and painting. I would love to start doing that again. I might do it here in London, maybe, now that it's getting summer. In wintertime, it's not really pleasant to sit outside and paint. But yeah, it's definitely, it's maybe not a portfolio piece, but it's just it's just fun. It's just doing something else, you know, just not getting stuck in that same. It's the comfort zone again, like we talked about. You know, you just got to try different stuff.
Yeah.
I like people who have a certain style that's recognizable, but I also see a lot of artists and their whole gallery looks very similar, and they always end up painting the same stuff, and you get tired of it pretty quickly. Like, okay, yeah, and you start scrolling, you know, and then there's some artists, and you go through and you see like, whoa, and it's something else, and everything catches your attention because, you know, you're caught off guard.
Yeah.
Every click you make, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I love that when that happens.
It's
super
rare,
awesome.
but I think it's awesome, yeah. Because there's so much to do, you know. There's no reason to get stuck into one sort of. I mean, in a way, there is when it comes to professional life, but you know, definitely if you specify in something. But then again, then it's about finding originality within that, you know, which is also like, you know,
it's hard to stay on top of things in that regard.
Mm-hmm,
you know, and that's another thing that happens. You know, it's just like, especially within concept art, you'll see trends happening, and it's like, even though it's really cool and you like it, you know, like do your best to kind of like stay away from it. You know what I mean? It's already being done, and it's being done to death. You know, it's like you're not. You should always go where the puck's gonna be, not where it is.
Yeah, but how do you know?
How do you? Well, you know, it's just one of those things where there's fads.
Yeah, you gotta calculate the trajectory of the puck.
Yep. You just gotta look ahead. You can't just like sit there and just, you know, have the latest trend force fed to you. You know, especially in film, because it's like what you're seeing, like all the, like, say, concept art, say for Godzilla. You know what I mean? Like, that was probably done 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, you know, if you're trying to emulate that stuff, like, it's like, well, use it as a learning tool to push yourself further, but like, you know, it's already been there, it's already been done, so do something different.
Yeah. I feel like it's gonna get harder though, because the more stuff that's being done, the less possibilities you get. In a way, the possibilities are endless, but in a way, they're not as well, and everything becomes a remix of everything. So
Yeah.
I think future generations are gonna have a much harder time than we do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because, for example, there's a lot of great stuff. I mean, if you look at, let's just say, Star Wars, you know, to just take a very, you know, well-known example.
Mm-hmm.
All the designs in Star Wars at the time were revolutionary. No one had ever seen anything like that, and therefore everyone loved it, and we will always continue to do so. If we see anything new now that looks like Star Wars, we're gonna say, yeah, cool, but that looks like Star Wars, and Star Wars is 40 years old. So, I mean. So yeah, we you know, we get picky because once we've seen something, we feel like we shouldn't see it again for some reason.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I really truly feel that we are in an age where we're spoiled cinematically, because there's been so many really good you know, films and things that have defined like the genre, that we're always trying to hold up that as like the go-to. You know, like Star Wars is one of them. You know, Blade Runner, all these other films are like, you know, we're wanting stuff to be just as good as the old stuff. But you know what? It's like, you know, movies cost less back then. They were still an endeavor, right? But they cost less, so people were allowed to take more risks. You know what I mean? You know, they were allowed to push the envelope more. Where I don't feel that today's, I guess, you know, indie director still doesn't have a lot of say. Well, you know, it's a shame, really, because like I'd like to see more risk taking.
It's funny. I was actually talking with someone about this yesterday, and it's really weird how that works, because everyone, or let's say most people, think like the way that you do. People say like, okay, we want to see original stuff. We want to see something that's kind of like a risk. But then studios do the exact opposite. They make new Marvel movies, and they make remakes and sequels and adaptations and whatnot. And they do this because if they take a risk, they tend to make less money. Even though more people might, like it and give it better reviews, still it makes less money. It's almost like they know that they can create something that has a fan base, that is epic, and is going to be marketed the crap out of. And they're going to make their money back for it in a very short time, regardless of its reception. They're going to stick 200 million in, some superhero movie, for example, and everyone's going to go watch it, and they're going to make the money back. But then you go and read, and everyone's like, yeah, it kind of sucked. The visual effects were great, but actually it sucked. It's such a weird way of working, and it's kind of ruining the film industry. Definitely the Hollywood film industry, I would say.
I completely agree. It's one of those things where we're getting handed such amazing visual stuff. Hang on, I'm loading something really quickly. We're getting shown amazing pieces of visual splendor, and yet
we couldn't care less.
We couldn't care less because the imagination, anything you can think of, we can do. You know what I mean? When it comes to film.
But still, people appreciate it still, but you have to support it with something that is more on a human level, I think. Because people appreciate our work. People appreciate the concepts that we make for films and how the visual effects look. But if they're not supported story-wise, people forget about it. It becomes like a sort of, it's just like a single experience, and then after that, it's forgettable, basically.
Yeah. And it's a shame. It really is. I don't feel like that's the direction in which we need to go as film goes, but what are you gonna do? The wrong people are in charge.
Yeah, definitely. It's the monetary system, That's actually the main problem of most things in this world, sadly. Yeah. When it's about money, people have to deal with things differently, and everything becomes an industry. It's what we do. It's art, but it's also not art. It's also just a product, like a piece of meat on a shelf in a supermarket. It just needs to make money.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But stay positive, guys. Very important.
Yeah.
Stay positive.
It's just like you got to be the trendsetter. You got to, why would you ever want to just do whatever everybody else is doing?
Thinking if I could come up with a new trend. Have people puked on canvases and called it art before?
No. Well, yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I need to have a good night's sleep over this. Okay, so let's get back a little bit into ZBrush. We don't want everything to be too philosophical. So basically now you're just using like a poly paint or something to paint colors in. And are you kind of painting like a ambient occlusion, like a shading as well?
So what I'm doing right now is I'm using kind of a pour brush, and I chose a color, like a lighter color. You can go like even a darker purple. And what I'm doing is, if you zoom in here, like whatever color I want to have in the pores, that's what I'm choosing to have.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is a pretty rough sculpt. This needs a lot more love, but maybe even color variation. But I just quickly chose a purple.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for demonstration purposes. It's just really cool that people can see how you start from a blob and get to a really proper sculpt, just like in a short amount of time, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then the nice part is that once you get something like this to this level, you could save this out as version A, and then you can go in here and make some major design changes, like pulling these out further. Oops, we don't want to add. you know, getting in here, choosing different formations. So you can see how quickly you can get a lot of mileage out of one creature design.
Yeah, yeah.
Just by doing that.
Yeah.
You know, you could do like if you were doing spreadsheets for aliens, you could be like, this is average size one, this is a a hero version, this is the fat one, this is the skinny
Right.
one.
Right.
Relatively quickly without having to go back to the drawing board every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up there. It's very easy to make. If you know that there's going to be variations of the same creature, it's just so easy to push and pull into variations of the same looking thing.
Yeah. Quite easily. Yeah. So from here, you would just render out your passes and then bring it into Photoshop to paint on top. How much time do we have left?
About 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes. We can try. We can try to render this out in that time.
Go for it, man.
Alright.
In the meantime, there is a question. If you create a design of a character for a movie and they do more, do they always come back to the original artist on each movie? I guess he's asking if they do sequels. That's hard to answer this question. It really depends. I mean, if they like working with you, then possibly yes. But the thing is, film industry is also very political, and maybe for some other reason they might not. Like maybe you tried to hit on the production designer's wife while you were drunk at the party, and you might be awesome, but that made someone very, very cross with you. So, like we were saying before, your personality is important as well. Try not to be a dick when you're.
Yeah, that's the big key.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't handle critiques or you've got really thin skin, you have to be able to destroy your babies. You got to be able to keep creating and have a little bit of a thicker skin.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. Be a team player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone's asking if I'm going to do any overpainting. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do any overpainting because Team Poland isn't here, and I can't really host and ask questions and look at what Justin is doing and do overpaint. So I am not Kali. I only have 2 arms. Sorry, guys. But hopefully next week we will be the full level up team again, and we've got a female guest again next week. Yay! But we'll announce that later.
Test render here, see what you look like.
So basically now you're going to do a bunch of passes that you're going to bring into Photoshop. And then...
yes.
Yeah. Do you tend to do different lighting directions and different passes?
I do. And I kind of set it up to where I'll probably do 10 different rim lighting passes, just to kind of composite them together to get the best looking one.
Yeah.
And I feel like also having that saved out in the file, like helps with the client work when it comes to, like, oh, I want to see, can we see what, like, the strong light coming from behind, because that's gonna be how we reveal the alien. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff happens a lot. So if you just save out your files and that there's popular lighting scenarios, like that's always a good one to do. Save those out.
I don't know if you've watched any of the previous level up sessions, but do the technique with the relighting your image with a normal pass. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Relighting it with a normal pass. No, I don't.
Relighting it in Photoshop, so without having to go back to your 3D software, you can actually relight your
Oh,
render
really?
with a normal
I didn't
pass.
know that.
Well, maybe if you can you save out a normal pass from this sculpt?
I don't know. I don't think so. I've never really kind of saved out the normal passes. I know you can, but I think that don't you have to generate like UVs and do all that kind of stuff to get normal passes out of it?
It's a good question. I don't know. Don't know.
Let me save this out here real quickly, guys.
I'm not sure. Is it just not calculating the normal of every polygon? I feel like.
I assume so. So now what I'll do is I'll go in here and I'll turn off my paint job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I will go to probably like a dark, not absolute black, but just that color. So now what I'll do is I'll turn off the skin shade and go to probably like a basic material 2. And I'll light the scene, and that's how I get like a specular.
Right. So you're just gonna use a blend mode to get rid of
Right.
lots of it. Just catch it. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, when you're using passes, people, you can also use blend modes. That's actually the way that compositors work when they're doing, Pixar movies and stuff like that. Is by having many different passes and then just compositing all of them on top. And sometimes you only use a little bit of information. You don't have to use the full opaque pass every time. Like in this case, you could just use the highlights and lay them over the color, texture, whatever.
So like in this case, I want probably, I don't know, let's try like maybe an orange rim light. That might look cool against purple.
It's the reed. It's the reed lighting.
So I'll render that out. Yeah, so I'll do this where I'll have a colored one, and then within, I used to save out multiples rim lights, but now I realize I can just use an adjustment layer to change the color of the one that I use. All right, so let's go back to a white.
And someone is telling us you do not need UVs for normal pass. Just calculate the world space normal of the vertex. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's basically looking at looking at all the vertices and just calculating the normals of that, then creating a render of that.
Yeah.
What about different materials? Do you tend to do renders of maybe like a matte surface and then a more reflective surface so you can play around with that as well?
I do that as well. Like I'll render out a chrome pass. It all depends. Like normally at this point I would probably just go straight into like key shot maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because key shot reacts differently, and there's materials already in there for me to kind of choose from. Yeah. It all depends on time and the route that I need to go. Like if I know it's going to be hard surface heavy, I will definitely render that out in Keyshot. If I know it's just going to be organics, I'll use either ZBrush or Keyshot depending on the time that I have for it.
Right.
Just saving out different lighting scenarios. Might even change the material here.
Okay. Oh, apparently there's even a normal material to generate normal paths, I guess, in ZBrush. So there must be material somewhere you can change it to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now that makes sense because there is a normal material.
Cool. And if there's time, I'll just show the technique again for people who have missed it, and then you can see it as well. It would probably work pretty good for what you're doing now, actually.
Nice little reflective pass here. And I think that's it really for...
Do you ever get impatient to jump into Photoshop?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Because like you should wait as long as you can, because the more proper work you do in 3D, the easier it's going to be after that. But for me, I always feel like itching. Like, just Photoshop feels so fluid, and you can do changes so quickly, and it's almost like you always want to jump to it as fast as possible so you can get some proper results,
Oh, yeah. It happens quite often. Quite often. So then I will just minimize this ZBrush so you can see my face again. And then we'll go into
Hooray.
doing... Let me see here. I want to share Photoshop. Here we go. Okay. My very plain and uninteresting setup for...
You got CC. You can actually stretch the color sliders, which I cannot.
Yeah, you know who talked me into upgrading was Reed, actually.
Oh, really? That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. It's pretty good so far. I've had a lot of unexpected crashes in Photoshop that I haven't ever had like before, but it saves most of the work. You know what I mean? So generally, you're okay. But I've definitely lost some work before. So now that I have this layout here, I'm going to go ahead and fill this background with black.
Now is the fun part, playing with passing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is where it gets fun. You got to do a little bit of cleanup stuff where you select your mask, mask everything out. You can either mask each one individually, or you can just put everything in a group and mask it out all at once. Yeah.
Okay.
So now that we have our base pass here, you can go up here and choose your shadows. We'll drop that down to multiply. You turn that on and off so you can see the level of work that it's doing for you. Do the same thing for the AO pass. Yeah, very subtle.
Do you find that the passes you render out are the same for everything, or does it depend on what kind of materials or surfaces you're working with?
It definitely, like it depends on the look in which you're going for. Like the specular right here, like I want them to feel kind of moist and shiny, but that's definitely way too much. So you kind of just play with the fill of that pass. So we got the orange rim light here. I'll drop that down to linear dodge. So you can see that's pretty strong. I want to knock it back a little bit. Here's another light. We got the chrome pass here. We'll put on soft light and just play with that. And another light here. Might be too much. So we'll knock that down to like 20%.
And I guess you can also just mask certain bits of passes if you only want it in one particular spot.
Absolutely. Like if he was doing more, if I had different hard surface materials, you could mask those out individually.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Let me see here. So I'm thinking I might want to go back into ZBrush here real quick and do a blue. You know what? This is fine.
If you had the normal pass, you could add any bounce light you wanted right now.
Oh, see, we're gonna have to. You're gonna have to show me that technique.
Yeah. All right.
I would ask to do it now, but I don't want to fumble through it like an idiot in front of everybody.
No, don't worry about it. Maybe if you have a minute, you can just apply that normal material and just do render, and I'll actually just show you how to do it.
Okay. So like with this one orange rim light, I can go in here and kind of choose hue saturation and pin that. Choose how much saturation. Choose any color rim light I want. If I want a green one or a blue one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily need to go back into ZBrush. Ooh. Yeah. Looks a little
Right.
But yeah, so then we'll go in and drop some lighting behind him. And I just kind of build that up slowly.
If you would bring this to a sort of final polish, would you still paint stuff? Would you photo texture stuff more 2D, or do you tend to just stick to the passes and play with those?
No, I generally like to throw any kind of texture work that I can. Let me see if I can find something really quickly to kind of drop that in there, just to see, or just to show people that that's kind of somewhat of the pipeline that we go from time to time. Let me see here. Let me find a real quick like skin texture or something here. What would suit this character?
Well, it looks pretty. Maybe you can do something crazy, like some nudie branch kind of colors. I don't know, or maybe something lobstery or something, like maybe textures from lobsters or crabs or something like that.
Yeah, here we go. I got this green slime texture, right?
Sure, you can go with green slime. Why not? Oh,
So,
green_slime.jpg.
yes.
Convenient.
Boom. Done.
There we go. Don't even need to mask it. Looks like an alien.
So, like, if I like this kind of texture, I might like just kind of overlay it here. Drop it down to a soft light to kind of see what we're doing. And that's giving me some cool looking effects. What do we got when we overlay it here? It's about the same. What about if we, let's see here. That's too dark. Soft light, I think, is probably where it's at. And just kind of take the fill of that down a little bit lower. I might actually, let me see here. I might stretch this out a little bit. Because I kind of like the overall little breakups that it's doing to the skin there. I'm going to duplicate it. kind of merge it down here and kind of blend it in with each other. I'll rotate this one around. There we go. You still there?
Yep, I'm watching.
Just making sure.
Yeah. I don't think people get kicked on 3D software. Oh, but you're in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, man, it's late here. That's
all right.
my brain's on is kind of on a slow burner already.
So what I'll do is I'll just kind of merge a couple photos on top of each other.
Yeah.
I duplicate it one more time, just kind of so I have the whole body covered with this texture. Merge that.
And you don't really worry about the edges because you're gonna blend it in anyway, right?
Right, right. Or I'll just simply take the mask that I've already got, mask that out. Depending upon the time, like I prefer to it's not just overlay a texture, but actually stretch it across the surface.
Right.
But yeah, due to time constraints, you just gotta kind of throw that in there. See what it
Yeah,
does.
overlaid over the whole thing, it's easy to see sometimes, and you run the risk of flattening it.
Yeah. I try to keep my rim light on top of everything. So it affects all the textures. But I also like to have the AO pass pretty high up too.
Okay.
So that kind of helps, because what it does is it'll knock those shadows back. It almost does the photo bashing for you. So you can just lay textures in, and then when you overlay an ambient occlusion pass, then you're pretty golden at that point.
Yeah, so basically what you're doing is you're making sure that your lighting and your shading is applied whatsoever, and nothing's going to interfere with that. And then underneath you put as many sublayers as you want.
Right.
Which makes sense because you're with the textures you're changing the actual surface of the creature, and then the light spill and the shadow is something that is on top in real life as well, because that's just the lighting.
Yeah.
It's not the actual local color or local surface. Yeah, cool, man. I mean, you've almost got a portfolio piece here. Do a little bit more work on it. I mean, it's a really nice sculpt.
Oh, well, thank you. This is generally the workflow in which I go. And I always, it's sometimes it feels counterproductive, but I always try to do a head bust of the creature first. Just because it's, if that's not working from the get-go,
there's no point focusing on the whole body, right?
Right, yeah. If they don't like the head, they're not even going to look at the rest of them,
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because I've always find that clients, you can't really give them three choices, and a lot of them are not going to say oh, we like the head of that and we like the torso of that, why don't you stick those together? They take them as individual things, and if they don't like one thing, they sort of disregard the rest.
Yeah, they for the most part, most clients don't have any imagination.
Yeah.
Which is something you got to get used to,
Yeah.
One of my sculpture teachers, John Brown, always used to say in class, I want you to show me, not tell me. So if you have to describe to the client what your concept is, it's failing as a concept.
Right, exactly, yeah. You should just be able to show it and not say a word.
Right.
See, that's where modern art fails.
It is. It truly is. It's one of those things where it's either going to make it or break it.
Yeah, right. Some people in the chat are asking about the normal pass, but I think we're going to have to wrap up soon because we're 2 hours and 10 minutes in. But actually, I already showed it in a previous tutorial, so if you guys check out, if you want to see it, it's in the session with Reed which is session 21. So if you go to session 21 and scroll through it, you'll see at some point something that I'm showing with an elephant, 3D elephant, and that's basically where I explain this technique. So yeah, you can find it. Yeah, so I think we're almost done, Justin. I mean, that looks really cool, and we've kind of seen your whole workflow from beginning to end. It's really amazing.
This is, at this point, it's just nothing but fine-tuning.
Yeah, it's just the endless detailing, which is actually not an interesting part to show because it's very straightforward and very boring, actually.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, it's you know, from here, this is where your painting skills take over.
But that's for another time, folks.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Yeah, so just some filters, some contrast adjustments, and that's it.
Yeah, once in a while I like to do the color lookup and just kind of pick out a camera.
Okay, cool. Just
do something like that.
A bit, yeah. All right, really cool, Justin. I think we're gonna wrap up this session.
Okay.
It was really informative. It was really great talking to you, and
likewise.
Talking about some bigger ideas and then talking about some smaller technical ideas. I think it's been a pretty informative session. So yeah, so everyone, thanks for watching again. If you like it, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then you'll be up to date with the sessions that we do every week. There's always a countdown if you're not sure which hour it is, because sometimes we have to change the hour because of we always adjust to the guest, and we're getting more guests from different continents, so there's no way of having like a fixed time. I know we do it around 6 p.m. GMT normally, but you know, if people are in America or in Asia, it doesn't really, often doesn't really work. So yeah, thanks, Justin. Check out Justin. Follow him on Facebook. That's a command that I give you right now. Go to Facebook and type Justin Goby Fields and follow him. Follow his work. There's going to be some movies coming out that he worked on. There's going to be a movie coming out that we both worked on, which is pretty exciting. Yeah. So yeah, thanks, Justin, for coming, and see all you guys next week.
Yep. Thanks, guys.